So fun fact, we were 15 minutes into filming this about 20 minutes ago.
Yep.
And the camera stopped recording.
Yeah. So normally this is really unscripted, but we've done this before. I don't want to pretend like I've never heard like your slice before.
I know. And I don't want to pretend I've never heard yours.
All right.
What happened?
Right. So just know most of this we've already done, and we're doing this for the second time.
It's kind of like when we preach at big church, though,
Right.
like where you've got to tell the same jokes multiple times and
Yeah.
pretend it's still funny.
Yeah.
Or if you're sitting out there and have to listen to the same sermon
Right.
3 times,
Right.
you're like,
Yeah.
all right, that joke's overplayed. The first time it was good.
Yeah. Hey, how cool was last Wednesday?
It was awesome. Hey, we forgot to welcome them. Welcome to House
Hello.
Parties. Man, we totally skipped right over that. But yeah, last Wednesday, stinking awesome.
It was amazing.
Had a lot of new kids who were there. So if you guys are here tonight in a house party, welcome.
Yeah.
We're so thrilled you guys are here.
You're gonna love it.
And if not, it's his fault.
Well, they're not even watching it if they're not here right now.
No, I'm saying if they don't love it, it's your fault.
Oh yeah, it usually is.
Or Kevin's.
Or Kevin's. Yeah. So we're getting into holiday season.
That we are.
Yep. So we've got a couple weeks of house parties.
Yeah, this week and next week.
And then we're off for Thanksgiving week.
We are off. And then we come back for a student night again.
Yes, which will be
1st
really
of December.
fun. And then we have one final house party for the season.
Which isn't really a house party.
Right.
It's a Christmas party.
Right, but it's with your house parties.
Correct.
And it'll be really fun. And then we take a big break until
Like 3 weeks.
2022.
Yeah, we won't see you guys for like a year.
Wow, I love how many twos are in 2022. 2022.
I really thought, the next time that all the numbers line up is going to be 2,222.
Wow.
And the last time it did that was 1,111.
I won't be there for that. Well, all right. Should we go into slices?
Well, we got one more announcement.
Yeah, the big thing.
The big thing. So we announced it last
Yeah.
week. This summer, July 3rd to the 8th, we're going to South Dakota.
Woo.
Now, why are we going to South Dakota, Stetson?
To party.
That's right, 4th of July in the Dakotas.
That's right. No, it's our missions trip, and it's going to be incredible. The area that we're going to in South Dakota, there's a Native American community that we're going to be getting to know and helping out. There is an adaptive community. There's like this whole nonprofit that helps people in the adaptive community with like physical and mental challenges, and we're going to be helping them, and it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a road trip.
So here's why I bring this up. Next Tuesday, so 6 days from now, is when signups are going to open. So if you guys want to go, start pestering your mom and dad, and it's okay to pester them when it's like church stuff. Like, that's totally cool. But talk to them, because we are limited on the amount of people we can take. Only 36. And we actually got to take like maybe like 8 numbers out of that for leaders. So like really, it's only like 28 of you guys. And there are a whole lot more than 28 of you guys who are part of house parties and student nights. So get signed up real quick. It will require a $50 deposit.
Okay.
Which is cool. Maybe your parents will give you a mission trip for your Christmas present. That's got to be like one of the most wholesome things you could get for Christmas.
Yeah, for sure. But we should say we never, ever, ever want money to be the thing between you and being able to come. So please talk to me or Nathan if you're kind of in that spot. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. We don't want you to miss out.
Absolutely. And for siblings, we actually do have a sibling discount as well. So
cool.
Buy one, get the second one like half off or something like. Well, not buy, but pay for one to go.
You buy one. Who's buying the siblings?
The South Dakotans.
Which siblings?
We're actually we're gonna stop here. This is gonna get bad.
Your words, not mine.
No, I said buy one, get one half off.
So sell your siblings to pay your way on to that. That's just bad. Take it all back.
I take it all back.
This is dark stuff. Okay.
All right. Well, hey, we got some slices for you guys.
Slices. Okay.
What do you got?
So you know what I got.
And I'm gonna pretend I've never heard this before.
Yeah. All right, so there was this lady who lives in an apartment complex, and she bought a new TV, and it got delivered to her front door. And she opened her door, and the TV was not there. It got stolen. And so on the online message board for her apartment building, she wrote this: "To the person who stole my TV, bring it back and all will be forgiven. Otherwise, there will be no Christmas in this building. I will steal every single package. I will steal every mat, every trash can. I will engage in warfare until the day I move out. It's up to you. You have 24 hours." And the next day, on the same message board, she posted a picture of her returned TV and said this: "Good morning. As you begin your day, remember that violence is always and often the answer."
Still just as funny the second
Yeah,
time.
I know. She's incredible.
Like, I'm trying to think, like, how can I do this with my kids? That's the paradigm I'm thinking through right now. Like, how do I legitimately, well, I don't want to use violence, but just the threat of violence? I gotta stop, man. This is gonna get, like, clipped and taken so out of context.
Yep.
And we do foster care, so, like, the child service people are gonna roll up and be like, so you use violence on
Right.
your child?
Yeah. Are you wanting to do a whole other take?
No.
Okay.
I'm
What's
just
your
stopping
slice?
talking.
What's
I'm
your
stopping.
slice?
All right, so for me, so other countries are weird, man. Like the way people do things there just kind of perplexes me at times, and why people do the things that they do.
Yes.
So there were two brothers who grew up. They were about 7 years apart, right? So and they were the only brothers in this family. And when the older one turned 18, he moved away. Like he just straight disappeared. He's like, "That's it. I'm done. I'm out. I'm gone." His little brother was 11. Now, if you are like, if you have a sibling who's maybe like 5, 6, 7 years older than you, like, what that's like, right? You look at your older sibling and they're your hero. You absolutely love them. You adore them. And this young guy, like, he looked up to his brother. And so he spent the next 24 years searching for him. I mean, he put his face on a milk carton. He got, commercials made saying, "Have you seen this guy?" Ads in newspapers. Like 24 years he was searching.
That's a long time.
That's a really long time. And he was unsuccessful. Right? His older brother was just completely off the grid. So after about 23 years goes by, their parents die. And because the older brother had disappeared, he was gone, all of the inheritance went to the younger brother. Well, the older brother, I don't know how he found this out. The older brother found out what happened, that his younger brother got the whole inheritance. And so 24 years later, after he had first left, he showed up at his brother's house where his brother was with his wife and with his kids, and he stabbed him.
No. I heard this before.
No, but think about that. Like,
Yeah,
can
no,
you
that's
imagine
brutal.
where you're like, "You're
That's
here,
terrible.
you're here. I've been looking for you for 24 years."
That's terrible.
Just stab. Yeah, I don't
That's
know, man.
awful.
That's just like, I thought I had family problems, but
Yeah.
like, I'm not.
That family's messed up.
I think it's just the older brother.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was like living out in the woods for 24 years.
Wow.
Where do you get the knife?
Yeah. and Where did you hear about all these things that had happened?
Were you
Bird
keeping-
come and say, "Your mom and dad are gone.
Your brother got all the money.
There's an inheritance."
Good times, man.
That's what birds sound like. All right.
Chirp, 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 chirp.
Okay.
All right, moving on, guys. And hey, by the way, if you guys ever have a funny slice,
Yeah.
send it in.
Yeah.
Like me and Stetson, we scour the internet for 5 minutes or so
Yeah.
looking for slices.
true.
And I've hit up all the good websites, like like Weird News, Strange News.
I have
Odd
my
News.
source. It almost never fails.
I do too. But
I'm not telling you
a
what
lot
it
of
is.
slices I want to share, I can't actually share.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. All right, so we're gonna have a conversation now about something we started talking about last week.
Yeah, we started a new series.
It's called The Masks That We Wear. And so if you were with us at Student Night, you'd know like a little bit about this series, but really like the heartbeat is simply this: is like, we believe that a lot of us, we put on these masks, we pretend to be something we're not, because we think somehow that's actually going to help us. We think somehow that's actually making our life better. But in reality, like when you look at it, these masks that we wear, like they're actually really destructive. They're actually keeping us from being able to experience life and joy and to become the people we want to be, while we're trying to pretend to be somebody else that we're not actually supposed to be.
Absolutely.
And so last week we kicked it off by talking about a mask that I think like all of us actually wear a lot of the times, and that's this mask called the I'm Fine mask. Right, so when somebody comes up to us and goes like, "Hey, how are you doing?
I'm fine.
What's going on in your heart? Like, are you dealing with any kind of stuff right now?
No, I'm good.
You just lost a parent."
It's fine.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it sounds so silly, but like so many of us do that. Like we put on this mask that like we portray to the world that we are these strong individuals and that we have no weakness and we're never vulnerable.
Yep.
And the problem is, when we're never vulnerable, we can never actually find the healing and the freedom that we want.
Right.
Right? We're so caught up in trying to pretend that everything's okay that really like our inside world just continues to crumble and fall apart. And so the solution, right, the way we take off this mask, it's really kind of simple. It's just being vulnerable.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
When we're vulnerable, like when we're open and honest about how we're actually doing, when we're open and honest about what we're actually walking through, what we're struggling with, suddenly these things that once had power over us, like they're stripped of their power and we're not controlled by them anymore.
Yeah. So we're talking about another mask today.
We are.
And that is the chameleon mask. If you've never met a chameleon before, they're really cool, especially their claws,
especially the one from Monsters Incorporated.
Yes, we think his name is Randall, maybe.
Randall, yeah, he could just hide wherever he wanted. Like he'd go into a kid's room, blend in, then he'd just jump out and scare the crap out of him.
So a chameleon changes its color to blend in with its surroundings, and we do the same thing a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, like, you know, me and Stetson, obviously, we've got to have lots of conversations with you guys, but beyond that, like, we remember what it was like to be a teenager, and like, we know how common this mask is for you guys. Like, when you're at church and you're like diehard Jesus people, right? You know, but when you're at school, maybe it's like, Jesus who?
Yeah.
Right? And we just kind of blend into our surroundings wherever we are, because we're like, well, if these people act this way, that's the way I'm going to act. And if those people act that way, then that's the way I'm going to act.
Yeah. Or maybe the things you talk about change, or the things that you're interested changes. And yeah, and after all this changing, it gets complicated.
It does get a little bit complicated. So why do we do this, though? Like, there's a couple reasons I think that a lot of us do this.
Yes.
What do you think there?
Yeah, one is because we want to please people. And I think below that is what we really don't want is to be lonely.
Yep.
And so we act a certain way, we portray ourselves in a certain way to fit in with a group of people so that they will continue to accept us, and we don't get rejected and we're on our own again. Because that's a really tough spot to be in.
Well, and totally. And, like, I fully get why when you're a teenager, like, this is something you do, because being a teenager is already hard enough, right?
It's
like, the stuff you
really
guys have to deal with, you're growing up, you're trying to figure out, what do I believe? Why do I believe it? What are my convictions? Who am I going to become, right? Like, so you're wrestling with all these really, really big questions. And then to think, I have to do that alone, like, that's scary. That's hard. So a lot of us do it. We do it to please people. I think another one of the reasons we do it is, for some of us, we don't actually like who we are.
Sure.
Right? So maybe we've got this, like, deep, dark secret that we've been carrying around, or maybe there's a shame and guilt, or maybe it's not about any of that. Maybe it's just, like, our life circumstances, like where we grew up. Maybe we didn't have a lot of money. Maybe we had too much money. Like, and so we pretend to be something else because we're actually ashamed of the thing that we really are.
Yep.
Right? So, and I remember you were actually telling me about a friend who just did this recently.
Oh, yeah. So a friend of mine, he was going on a date with this girl who's really wealthy, and he is not. But to show her that he was also wealthy, they were just walking downtown in some city, and he passed by, I think it was like a Verizon store. And in this really cool way, he was just like, I think I'm going to buy a new phone. Just like, oh, yeah, I got money to throw around. And so he goes into the Verizon store and buys this brand new iPhone and spends all the money that he has on this phone
$1,500
just to portray himself in this way so that this girl would like him.
Yeah. So we put it on sometimes to try to please people.
Yeah.
I think another one of the reasons we do this is sometimes, like, we put on this chameleon mask because, well, honestly, like, for some of us, it's probably because we just don't know who we are.
Right.
So not only are we trying to do it to please people, not only are we trying to do it because, like, we don't like who we are, sometimes we do it because, like, we don't even actually know who we are.
Right, for sure.
And so when we put on, like, these different identities, like, we're just trying to figure out, like, is that me?
Yep.
Right? Am I the goth kid? No. And if you're a goth kid, that's great. I love it. Celebrate that.
I think deep down I am the goth kid.
Dude, you should wear black eyeliner.
No. Deep down, not on the surface.
Well,
show it.
You're wearing a chameleon mask right now. You're pretending not to be.
True goths have the darkness inside. I'm not goth.
No, but, like, I think we do this, like, and we're just trying to experiment and figure out, who am I? Right? Like, what am I becoming?
Yep.
And we think, like, if I could try these different things on, maybe that's the thing that's actually going to help.
Yeah, and part of that is normal, just like figuring out who we are. But if we go too overboard and that mask is changing colors too rapidly, we don't even get to see any of who we are.
Well, I think with that, too, we actually begin to lose the sense of self-identity.
Yep.
And we just go, well, I don't even know who I am.
Yep.
Right?
Sure.
And I know that this is a question many of you guys are asking because you've expressed it in your house party. You're like, man, I don't know who I am. I don't know what's going on. Now this mask, while it can be helpful in certain situations, it can also be really damaging.
For sure.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, let's talk about why wearing this mask is actually not a good thing. It's not helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, kind of on what we just talked on, it can feel really miserable. Like, if you don't like who you are and you're just constantly trying to keep people from seeing who you believe you are inside, like, first of all, it feels terrible to feel that way about yourself, but two, it's really scary believing that you need to hide that from other people.
Yeah. Well, I think with that too, right? You know, when we're always wearing this mask, we're always having to perform. Right? And so then suddenly our sense of self-worth, it actually becomes contingent on, like, man, how well can I act?
Yep.
Like, what can I produce?
Yeah.
How can I convince people that this is actually, like, who I am?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've done this before yourself, and I know I have, but, like, when you live that way, like, it's exhausting.
It really
like
is.
You never really get a moment to actually just sit down and rest and to just be still, because it's like, no, I gotta keep putting up this facade. I gotta keep putting up this front, trying to convince people that this is who I really am.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that leads to a couple other things. It's like you don't get to thrive if you're spending time doing this. And part of that is, like, you never get to figure out who you are because you're so busy trying to be other things. And, like, Jesus made us, like, God made us very intentionally, and he wants to use us in these really intentional ways that will be really fun to do. But if we're too busy trying to figure out who we are, like, are we this, instead of who am I and who has God made me to be, we never get to experience that. I follow this YouTube channel. This guy, he made this, like, this marble machine that is an instrument 5 years ago, and it was incredible. But he's been trying to make a new version of it, and he has been working on it so much, perfecting it so much for the past 5 years. All he's been doing is just testing it out, and he hasn't been playing this incredible machine. And it's just, like, so frustrating. I've been following this channel for 5 years, waiting for him to, like, show us the final product, but it never gets to be used because he's just tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking in his house. It's frustrating.
And yet you keep watching.
Release the machine.
Release the beast.
Yeah.
But with that too, right? I think it also, like, one of the problems with this is that, like, we never actually get to be used.
Right.
You see, one of the things that I really believe with all my heart is that each and every one of us is gifted, that each and every one of us is special, that God has uniquely created us and made us to do this thing. And if we never actually step into that and become that person that we were made to be, like, we actually miss out on this amazing opportunity to partner with God to do the things he wants to do here in this world. You know, I always think about, like, the Lion King. Right?
Okay.
You think about Simba.
Yep.
Right? Simba, you are the son of the king, right? You need to go to Pride Rock. You need to lead the pride, basically lead all of the African safari. And yet for the longest time, this guy kept running from it because he's like, well, that's not who I am.
I'm
It's like,
a warthog.
Yeah, I'm a what's the other one?
Meerkat.
I'm a meerkat.
I
Right?
eat
Like,
bugs.
I eat bugs. That's right. But it was only when he actually realized who he was, which happened when Nala came and spoke to him and said, but I see who you really are.
Yep.
Like, that's when he was able to embrace it. And then he wasn't wearing a mask anymore. He wasn't a chameleon just trying to fit in. It was like, no, dude, like, you're the king. And I think a lot of ways, like, maybe that's what we get to do with you guys, and this is what God actually does with us, because the solution to this whole problem, right, you know, the way we take this mask off, it's actually just by listening to what God has said to be true about us.
Yeah, for sure. So we have a few verses where God actually tells us, like, who we are and what God wants us to be.
And we're actually going to text those out to your guys as leaders, because, like, we would love for you guys in your groups to be able to process this and talk about this. Be like, what does this mean? Right? Like, if this is who God says that I am, and keep in mind, it's not about, like, what I look like or how I dress or what I own, right? Like, we're talking about a deeper identity that's rooted in your soul.
Yep.
So we're going to give you guys those. So you guys are going to kind of talk about that and maybe just answer, like, where am I at with this? Like, am I putting this chameleon mask on? How is this actually keeping me from being able to experience joy?
Yep.
So
I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're going to hand it off to you guys in your house parties. Leaders, you guys have those questions. Check your text thread, and we hope you guys have a great conversation.